One old penny, 3 dates, and a surprise most people never see coming. Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're uncovering 3 Lincoln Wheat Pennies that continue to spark interest among collectors. 1957 Wheat Penny, no mint mark. 1946 D Wheat Penny. 1957 D Wheat Penny. These classic wheat pennies feature the famous wheat ears reverse design and have spent decades passing through countless hands. Most are worn, dirty, and heavily circulated, making them easy to overlook. But hidden among ordinary-looking coins can be rare varieties, mint errors, and collectible examples that attract serious attention from coin hunters. Before you spend that old penny, check the date and mint mark carefully, because one small detail could make all the difference. Let's jump into coin number 1. Have you ever looked at an old Lincoln Wheat Penny and wondered how many stories it carries? Most people never do. They see an old penny, a worn surface, a faded date, and nothing more. But sometimes the coins people overlook the fastest end up carrying the most fascinating journeys. Today's story begins with one of those pennies. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark. A coin that entered circulation during a completely different America. An America filled with classic cars, busy factories, growing communities, and a future that seemed full of endless possibilities. When this penny first left the Philadelphia Mint, it looked perfect. Bright copper surfaces, sharp lettering, strong wheat ears on the reverse. Everything looked fresh. Everything looked untouched. Everything looked ready to begin its journey. And that journey would become far longer than anyone could imagine. Because once a coin enters circulation, its future becomes a mystery. Nobody knows where it will go. Nobody knows who will carry it. Nobody knows how many years it will survive. The story begins the moment control disappears. Imagine receiving this penny during the late 1950s. Perhaps it arrived as change from a grocery store. Perhaps it came from a gas station. Perhaps it passed through several owners before reaching your pocket. Nobody recorded those moments. Yet the coin experienced them all. That is what makes old pennies so fascinating. They witness history quietly. Without attention. Without recognition. Without anyone realizing what they are becoming. The 1957 Wheat Penny traveled through decades of American life. Think about that for a moment. This small coin may have existed through generations of change. New technologies. New businesses. New communities. Entire decades passed. Yet the penny continued moving. Pocket to pocket. Hand to hand. Year after year. Most people never stop to think about that. They see only a single cent. Collectors often see something much bigger. A survivor. A traveler. A witness to history. Every scratch on the surface represents time. Every worn detail represents movement. Every faded area represents another chapter completed. That is why old wheat pennies continue capturing attention. Not because they are loud. Not because they demand attention. But because they quietly earn their stories. And believe it or not, the next coin in today's journey followed a completely different path. A path connected to another year. Another city. And another chapter of the Lincoln Wheat Penny story. The 1946 D Wheat Penny. Now the story moves backward in time. To a coin that entered circulation just after one of the most important periods in American history. The 1946 D Lincoln Wheat Penny. A coin born during a moment of transition. A moment when America was changing. Growing. Rebuilding. Moving forward into a brand new era. And yet nobody holding this penny in 1946 could have imagined that decades later people would still be talking about it. That is the fascinating thing about old coins. Their true stories are never visible at the beginning. The story develops slowly. Year by year. Owner by owner. Journey by journey. When the 1946 D wheat penny left the Denver Mint, it was simply another new cent entering circulation. Bright copper surfaces reflected the light. The lettering looked razor-sharp. Lincoln's portrait appeared crisp and strong. The wheat ears on the reverse stood tall and clear. Everything looked perfect. Everything looked untouched. Everything looked ready for the future. But perfection never lasts forever. The moment a coin enters circulation, real life begins shaping its story. Imagine receiving this penny during the late 1940s. Perhaps a shopkeeper handed it to a customer. Perhaps a child placed it inside a small coin collection. Perhaps it traveled through several towns before anyone noticed it. Nobody knows. And that mystery is exactly what makes the story so powerful. Because every old coin carries a hidden timeline. A timeline nobody can fully reconstruct. Think about how many hands may have held this penny. Hundreds. Perhaps thousands. Each owner saw the coin for only a brief moment. Then passed it along. The journey continued. The story grew. And another chapter was added. That process repeated again and again. 4 years. 4 decades. Without stopping. The 1946 D wheat penny witnessed a changing America. New highways appeared. New neighborhoods expanded. New businesses opened. Entire generations grew up. Technology transformed daily life. The world moved forward. Yet this small penny continued surviving. Quietly. Patiently. Without demanding attention. That idea becomes more remarkable the longer you think about it. Because most objects from the 1940s disappeared long ago. They broke. They were replaced. They were forgotten. Coins often experience something different. They survive. They keep moving. They continue existing while everything around them changes. That survival creates curiosity. Collectors understand that. They understand that every old coin represents a journey through time. A journey nobody can fully see. A journey hidden beneath scratches. Hidden beneath wear. Hidden beneath faded surfaces. Every mark becomes evidence. Evidence that the coin traveled. Evidence that it survived. Evidence that it participated in countless ordinary moments. Moments nobody recorded. Moments nobody remembers. Yet the coin was there. That is why many collectors become fascinated with wheat pennies. Not because every coin is rare. Not because every coin is valuable. But because every coin tells a story. And stories become more interesting as they age. The 1946 D wheat penny carries that kind of story. A quiet story. A patient story. A story built through decades of movement. Imagine all the places this coin may have visited. Busy city streets. Small-town businesses. Family homes. Old cash registers. Coin jars hidden on shelves. Drawers forgotten for years. Every possibility creates another mystery. Every mystery creates another question. Where did it travel? Who carried it? How many miles did it move? How many important moments unfolded while it sat unnoticed in someone's pocket? Those answers are impossible to know completely. And perhaps that is exactly why people remain fascinated. Because mystery never loses its power. In fact, it often becomes stronger with time. The older the coin becomes, the larger the mystery grows. The larger the mystery grows, the more curiosity follows. That curiosity keeps people searching. Searching through old collections. Searching through inherited boxes. Searching through forgotten jars filled with coins nobody has examined in years. Wondering whether an ordinary-looking wheat penny might carry an extraordinary story. The 1946 D Lincoln Wheat Penny represents exactly that possibility. An ordinary beginning. An extraordinary journey. A coin that quietly moved through American history while the world transformed around it. And believe it or not, the final wheat penny in today's story may be the most fascinating chapter of all. Because it brings us back to another 1957 penny. A coin that started in the same year as our first coin, yet followed a completely different journey. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny. And its story begins next. And now we arrive at the final coin in today's journey. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny. A coin that, at first glance, looks almost identical to countless other wheat pennies that circulated throughout America. The same familiar Lincoln portrait. The same wheat ears on the reverse. The same 1-cent denomination. The same copper appearance. Nothing about it immediately demands attention. Nothing about it immediately announces its story. And perhaps that is exactly why its journey is so fascinating. Because the most interesting stories often belong to the coins people overlook. Imagine the year 1957. America was changing rapidly. New neighborhoods were appearing. New businesses were opening. Families were building futures. Cars filled growing highways. The country felt full of momentum. And during that time, the Denver Mint released the small copper penny into circulation. At that moment, it was just another new coin. Bright. Shiny. Untouched. Nobody could possibly know where it would travel. Nobody could know how many people would carry it. Nobody could know how many decades it would survive. Its future remained completely unwritten. That uncertainty is where every great coin story begins. The moment a coin enters circulation, its destiny disappears into mystery. Perhaps this penny spent years moving through busy cities. Perhaps it traveled through quiet towns. Perhaps it crossed state lines dozens of times. Perhaps it spent decades sitting unnoticed inside a forgotten jar. Every possibility creates another chapter. Every chapter creates another question. And every question increases curiosity. That curiosity is what makes old coins so powerful. Not because they provide answers, but because they create mysteries. Think about how many moments this penny may have witnessed. Ordinary moments. Everyday moments. Moments that seemed unimportant at the time. A purchase at a small grocery store. A handful of change exchanged between strangers. A child placing a penny into a collection. A family storing coins away for another day. Thousands of moments. Thousands of stories. Most of them forgotten forever. Yet somehow the penny survived them all. That survival is remarkable. Because many things from the 1950s no longer exist. Buildings disappeared. Businesses closed. Objects were replaced. Entire generations grew older. The world transformed. Yet this penny remained. Moving quietly through time. That is why collectors often see more than metal when they look at a wheat penny. They see endurance. They see survival. They see a witness to history. A witness that never speaks. Yet somehow tells a story anyway. Every scratch becomes evidence. Every worn detail becomes evidence. Every faded surface becomes evidence. Evidence that the coin lived a real life. Evidence that it traveled. Evidence that it survived. The longer a coin survives, the stronger that evidence becomes. And that is exactly what happened with the 1957 wheat penny. Year after year, it continued moving. Decade after decade, it continued existing. While the world changed around it. That idea becomes more powerful the longer you think about it. Because this coin has outlived countless moments. Countless trends. Countless memories. Yet it remains. Still carrying its story. Still carrying its mystery. Still carrying the possibility of discovery. And perhaps that possibility is what attracts collectors more than anything else. The possibility that an ordinary-looking coin may hold an extraordinary journey. The possibility that a forgotten penny may have traveled farther than anyone imagines. The possibility that history may still be hiding in plain sight. That is what connects all three coins from today's story. The 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the 1946 D Lincoln Wheat Penny, and the 1957 D Lincoln Wheat Penny. Three coins. Three different journeys. Three different chapters of American history. Yet all connected by one powerful idea: survival. These coins survived changing decades. They survived changing generations. They survived changing times. And because they survived, their stories continue, quietly waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. The next time you see an old wheat penny, pause for a moment. Look at the date. Look at the wear. Look at the details. Then ask yourself one simple question: where has this coin been? You may never know the answer. But that mystery is exactly what makes the journey unforgettable. And sometimes, the greatest treasure hidden inside an old coin is not its value. It is the story that traveled with it through time.